The 1970s resembled that by accident attending party that ended up being the most memorable night of your life. Get ready for a decade filled with unexpected loop-de-loops, eccentric moments, and seismic transformations. It will seem like an amusing ride.
Houston, we have a problem.
Apollo 13 was supposed to be a standard lunar landing, but instead it became an extraterrestrial game of how to fix a spacecraft with duct tape and wishful thinking. Apollo 13 launched us into 1970. It was similar to NASA's take on a reality TV program when an oxygen tank ruptured, but with much bigger stakes than simple elimination. Fortunately, the astronauts returned to Earth without incident, demonstrating the value of having a backup plan even in space. The Beatles made the decision to end their career that same year. Let It Be, their last album, was which are comparable to the perfect musical divorce decree. When Paul McCartney announced the band's breakup, fans all across the world felt as though their favorite band had abandoned them. Now for everyone to swoon and start crying and singing along to Hey Jude. When Walt Disney World first opened its doors in 1971, it was filled with all the wonder and magic of a fairy tale, with the exception of seemingly never-ending lineups for rides. It was like entering a universe where the happiest place on Earth comes with a side of sunburn and overpriced souvenirs, all on 107 acres of pure imagination with 5,500 workers. In the meantime, a less dramatic but no less startling development occurred when the movie Deep Throat became extremely popular. Emerge as a national conversation starter, it made $25 million and even made it into legend around the Watergate incident. It was like watching your favorite drama, only with more explicit content. Assault in 1972 cast a shadow over the Olympics in Munich. Israeli athletes were taken prisoner by members of the Palestinian organization Black September, which tragically resulted in fatalities. We were starkly reminded of the hard reality of world politics by this gloomy moment. When The Godfather debuted in theaters in 1973, Marlon Brando said,
"Make them an offer they can't refuse."
It resembled a masterclass on how to manage a family business with intimidation and style. A cultural landmark, the movie made organized crime appear almost glamorous, assuming you could get beyond the whole breaking the law aspect. Regretfully, Bruce Lee passed away in 1973, shortly before the debut of his movie Enter the Dragon.
Boards don't hit back.
Lee was on the verge of saving the day, thus his death was like losing a superhero. Fans felt as though they had lost their favorite action hero after watching his films, which turned martial arts into a global sensation. After being finished in 1973, the World Trade Center's Twin Towers came to represent the skyline of New York City. They made the city appear to be a place where skyscrapers were a fashion statement by standing tall and proud. They would be brutally destroyed in the September 11th attack, but for decades their imposing presence served as a defining characteristic of the city. In 1974, Beverly Johnson became the first African-American model to appear on the cover of Vogue. It was a fashion turning point, demonstrating that Vogue was at last prepared to welcome diversity, even though many continued to question why the shift took so long. In 1974, Muhammad Ali stunned everyone by defeating George Foreman via knockout in the Rumble in the Jungle. Witnessing Ali's victory was akin to living out the ultimate underdog narrative in real time. The battle served as more than simply a comeback. It was a cultural phenomenon that served as a constant reminder that the most exciting wins occasionally come as a surprise to everyone. When Saigon fell in 1975, the Vietnam War came to an end. Chaotic evacuation scenes had the feel of a high-stakes action film, except with actual ramifications. With an official reunification of Vietnam as a socialist republic, a violent period in its history came to an end.
أنا من الغربية.
غربية؟ شو هيدي غربية وشرقية؟ هيدي هم في منع حبيبي شرقية غربية عند أم وليد بيروت وبس.
1975 also saw the start of the Lebanese Civil War, adding to the list of hostilities that decade. It resembled a chaotic TV series unique to this part of the world, with political upheavals and power struggles that seemed to have no end. America commemorated its bicentennial in 1976 with fireworks and a strong sense of patriotism. Like it was holding the biggest birthday celebration, the Statue of Liberty illuminated New York Harbor. The year also marked the premiere of Rocky, a movie about a boxer who comes from nothing and goes on to become an example to others with guts and willpower. It was the apex of the never give up story. It showed that you could defeat the big boys even if you were only a small-time fighter. 1977 saw the premiere of Star Wars, which transported us to a galaxy far, far away. All the aspirations of a science fiction lover were realized when George Lucas presented us to a new universe full of spectacular fights and quirky characters, fulfilling every sci-fi fan's desire. It was similar to finding a brand new playground where lightsabers were the ideal accessory. The digital era began in that same year when Apple computers unveiled the Apple II. Though it was a bulky beige device, it marked the beginning of the modern tech era. In the meantime,
Elvis Presley died here about 3:30 this afternoon. He had been found in his bathroom, unconscious, not breathing.
the world was in mourning for the death of the king of rock and roll, Elvis Presley, who died in August 1977. His passing left fans and the music industry in communal sadness. As if it were the last act in the tale of the golden age of rock music, Egypt and Israel reached a historic peace deal in 1978 thanks to the Camp David Accords. Through the efforts of U.S. President Jimmy Carter, Egyptian President Anwar Sadat, and Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin shook hands, demonstrating that sometimes, even in politics, people can come to an agreement. It was similar to seeing a reconciliation between two adversaries, following an especially tense round of charades. Pope John Paul II, the first non-Italian pope in more than 400 years, was elected in the same year. The appointment of Karol Józef Wojtyła as pope, who would inject some diversity and new ideas into the office, was a momentous occasion for the Catholic Church. At last, Margaret Thatcher was appointed as the first female Prime Minister of Britain in 1979. Her election ushered in a new era in British politics, demonstrating that women could lead with courage and determination.
The other plank in Labour's strategy, we're told, is to have a long campaign so that they can, and I'm only paraphrasing their argument, nail that woman. I think that must be a reference to me.
Not to be forgotten is the Iranian Revolution of 1979, which resulted in the fall of the Shah and the creation of the Islamic Republic, headed by Ayatollah Khomeini. It was equivalent to a political plot surprise that kept everyone on the edge of their seats and altered Iranian history in a way that had long-lasting effects. The 1970s, a decade of dramatic highs, quirky lows, and enough wild stories to keep you entertained for hours. As we close the chapter on this zany decade, the world was primed for even more thrilling developments. Stay tuned because the 80s promises to be just as unpredictable and unforgettable.
Tea or coffee?
Tea.
Sugar?
Yes, please.
Milk?
No, thank you.